This episode is brought to you by Disney's Mufasa, The Lion King. Get tickets now for the ultimate family holiday movie experience. Reunite with the characters you know and the untold story you'd never expect. Witness Mufasa's rise from orphan to king and see how the legendary villain Scar got his name. Disney's Mufasa, The Lion King, in theaters everywhere this Friday. The kingdom awaits.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey, who is just back from a trip, right?
Yes, I am back. I would say like that I'm rested-ish. I mean, I don't know that you can ever really rest with a trip to like Disney or Universal, but we've got a lot to unpack today.
Okay.
So I'm enthusiastic about that.
This is true. And let's be clear here that the reason that you might be slightly rested is a full week has passed since you got back from Orlando, all right?
I need a full week to recoup from our travels.
Totally. I get it. So anyway, Lauren's got a lot to share about some of the unique and unusual merch she discovered during her trip, which took her both to Walt Disney World and the Universal Orlando Resort. Plus, we're going to take a dive into the new 2025 merch that's rolling out at the Disney parks and how places like Tokyo Disneyland are influencing what we're seeing stateside.
Yes, stoked to get into all of that. But before we do, didn't you and Nancy just get back from some travels as well?
This is true. We're down in New Jersey this past weekend where Nancy had attended her fourth Christmas con. In fact, Nancy did not get to the very first one, but the second year we were there, and we've been going back ever since. And in fact, this is Nancy's big Hallmark year, by the way. I want to say 5 weeks ago, she was on the inaugural sailing of the Hallmark cruise. And in fact, just a day or so after we record the show, I take Nancy to the airport so she can fly to Kansas City to experience the Hallmark holiday experience last weekend of that. And all of this is in service of a Hallmark podcast that we were hoping to get up out of the ground in 2025. But yeah.
Fingers crossed, because it sounds like Nancy is the number one Hallmark fan. I don't know that I've ever met a bigger fan.
Well, now, the interesting thing is there is a surprising amount of overlap between the worlds of Hallmark and the worlds of Disney. In fact, just at this most recent event, it turns out there's a brand new organization that's actually started by the Mickey Mouse Club kids from the 90s version of the show. Do you remember when, what was it, Justin Timberlake and
Oh, yeah.
and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were it's that bunch now who are now grown-ups who are doing things like helping disadvantaged kids and by arranging for them to go backstage at Disney parks and meet with Imagineers. And that's another thing we'll talk about on that podcast once we get it out of the ground. God help me.
It's coming, and I might not be as big of a Hallmark fan as Nancy. I don't know anybody that is, but I have to admit, I don't know what it is, Jim, this year, but like I've been feeling these Hallmark style movies. I mean, Christmas is like the season for Hallmark movies. I mean, they're happening all year long, but this is the season, and I don't know if it's like the whole turning 40 or maybe it's just because I can watch a lot of them on Netflix now. But either way, I know that Lindsay Lohan is not Hallmark. She has her own like Christmas movies that she's in. And like, I'm really enjoying those too. Like, I am not even mad about her making her big comeback. She looks totally different, but I think she's slaying it for Christmas.
No, and remember, this is what we do in America. We build people up, we tear them down,
This Yes, we
and
do.
then we rejoice when they come back. I mean, in the entertainment industry, it's known as the Robert Downey Jr. plan, and so Lindsay is now doing that. In fact, by the way, she will be returning to Disney shortly. You did hear about the Freaky Friday sequel that she's
I
doing with
did.
Jamie Lee Curtis, who, by the way, and the world is getting even stranger. Did you see the news just yesterday about how Universal is prepping a Murder She Wrote movie where
What?
with Jamie
No.
Lee Curtis is going to play the Angela Lansbury role. So our worlds are colliding, Lauren. Our worlds are colliding.
Hey, I will take it. Keeps things fresh, keeps
Mhm,
things interesting.
mhm,
So, but I've been watching a ton of TV. Like I
mhm,
said, I was watching those Lindsay Lohan movies she's had.
mhm,
She has a new one this year. It was
mhm.
called Our Little Secret. I don't know if you saw that one.
I have seen the trailer for this, and
It's
again,
cute.
talking about how the media worlds collide, isn't Christine Chenoweth in this, the original Glinda from the Broadway version of Wicked?
Yes, and the funniest thing about it is like
Mhm,
so she's out on these like media tours
mhm.
promoting this movie,
Yep.
but what she ends up talking about is her like I would say it's more than a cameo in Wicked.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
See, they all the worlds are colliding, that is for sure. But she's great.
it's so interesting you said that because again, at this point, I think we can talk about the movie's been out in theaters for 3 or 4 weeks at this point. But in Wicked, in the One Short Day in the Emerald City number, both Christine Chenoweth and Dina Menzel, who
Yes.
obviously played Elphaba in the Broadway show, they're in Wizamania, right? They're like the hosts of Wizamania or something to that effect.
Yeah, they're kind of telling the story
Mhm,
of how the Wizard of Oz came to be.
mhm.
And Lainey and I are mildly obsessed at this point. And I know we're going to talk about Universal and remind me to mention the
Mhm.
full blown Wicked store down
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Incredible.
But the fact that they did that, John Chu, I want to say, is the gentleman who directed the movie. This is a guy who understands his audience. He understands that the fans of the Broadway show are coming out for the Wicked movie. On the other hand, it's sort of like what Disney tried to do with Mary Poppins Returns. In fact, if you've ever seen that movie, I mean, Dick Van Dyke makes an extended cameo appearance in it as Mr. Dawes Jr. He's the son of the banker who fired David Tomlinson. But what people don't know is that the balloon lady in that film, role who's played by Angela Lansbury, that was actually written for Julie Andrews. The idea was that in Mary Poppins Returned, again with Emily Blunt playing the title character, there were going to be these two nods to the film. And what's kind of interesting about Julie Andrews is that she effectively said, "This is lovely that you thought to do this, and I'm honored that you reached out, but I wouldn't want to do anything that would upstage Emily. And if we're on screen together, that's going to pull people out of the movie." And so they defaulted then to getting Angela Lansbury to play that part. But yeah, they've been doing this forever. In fact, Tim Burton, when he made the original Batman movie, back in, I want to say 88 or 89, he wanted, there's that famous scene in Crime Alley where, what is it, Bruce Wayne's parents get killed. And what he wanted to do was hire Adam West, who played Batman in the television series, to play Bruce Wayne's dad. And it's like, oh, yeah, oh, come on, that'd be cool. And people would really like that.
I was gonna say, like, we're nerds. Like, we like the nostalgia, and like,
We
it gets
do.
people
We
so
do.
excited,
And-
And I think it was a
Mhm,
very smart and strategic play
mhm,
by Wicked. And I mean, like, you think about Disney. Disney's just making all of these like sequels and prequels. It's
mhm.
like we as the American people, we want things fresh, but we also like what we like.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Speaking of what we like, before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's show, why don't we thank our sponsor? We like them.
Yes, that's true. We love the nice folks at Touring Plans, and whether you're planning your first trip to Disney or you're a seasoned pro, Touring Plan has you covered with personalized touring plans, real-time wait times, and tips to save you money. And here's the best part: this holiday season, you can give the gift of Touring Plans, a one-year subscription to Touring Plans for Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Orlando, or the cruise lines. That would make the perfect gift for the theme park fan in your life. So for all the details, head on over to touringplans.com. Okay, so we've exhausted talking about weird cameos and well, let's get back to talking about your most recent trip down to Florida, which again, Eric and I covered a little bit over on the Epic Universal podcast, but this sounds like a jam-packed week down there in Central Florida.
Oh my gosh, it's nonstop. Eric and I, we're kind of extra anyways, and we like to try to cram a lot in. But this trip, we had originally planned on doing 2 days at Universal. We were actually going to do one, and then we're like, well, if we're going to do one, we should do two. And yeah, then they had a deal going on nonetheless. And so we were then going over to Disney. We were staying at the Poly this trip for a week, which was really, really nice. And then I rounded out the trip, bookend the trip with something that I was actually nerding out over, which was attending the Disney Institute. So we kind of went back and forth between doing like a 3-day or doing the 1 day. And this one just worked out because we had already had this trip planned. But on the last day of our trip, we did the full-blown, like I did, the like employee engagement session, which I'm sure we will talk all about.
Cool. Okay. No, love to hear about that. I mean, and just a little teaser here. Back when the Disney Institute first got up out of the ground, Nancy and I took part in a 3-day long celebration, and this tells you how long ago it was. God, this would have been 1998 because it was celebrating the release of Mulan, which was the first full-length animated feature that got produced by Disney Feature Animation Florida. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But now, back to your trip. Now, Eric kind of alluded to this. You guys went from, we just have one set of tickets to Universal, and then we had different sets of tickets to Universal, and then we had annual passes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Well, it went from 1 day to 2 days because we really were going to experience the parks for Christmas.
Okay.
We went in July. It was our first trip, and we knew that we wanted to go back, and we were considering like the pass holder option at that point. But the word on the street at the time was that, to go to Epic, that you would have to have like 3-day tickets, so that just didn't make sense. Well, when we got down there this time, things have changed, and now if you're a pass holder, you can buy 1-day Epic passes. But how did we get there? They had a deal that it was like buy 2 days, get 2 free. And like when I was looking at the prices of things in my head, I'm like, it would be better if we could just like roll this into annual passes. And I'm telling you that even with our Disney annual passes, I mean, they were half the price, and we kind of get like a Florida resident deal because we're, DVC. But they had passes as low as like $425, which just absolutely blew my mind. So we did that like the first day in the afternoon. It was kind of a quick decision. And I just have to share a hack because we are all about saving money around here. We're talking about merch, talking about buying stuff. I like to say I'm bougie on a budget. So we were able to do like 5 of their power passes, which were slightly less, had some more blackout dates. And then I just got a preferred pass just for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just because one of us have it, like the discounts are better, the $32 a day parking fee, like
Oh,
that
right
was
there.
all waived.
Right there.
So,
Yeah.
if you're considering it, since we've got Epic coming early, mid next year, that might be a way to save a few bucks.
No, excellent idea. And to be honest, I have not yet looked at the differences there. So thanks for shining a spotlight on there. Now, that said, I want to say Eric said that you guys actually, at least for a night or two, stayed on property at Universal at Endless Summer, right?
We did, and I was a little hesitant because I like a nice hotel room, but the reason we ended up at Universal anyways, and like if anybody from Disney is listening, we were blacked out for the first time ever for the day after. No, so the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We were blocked out. So we didn't get together. So we're like, oh, what else could we do? So that's how we ended up adding the day at Endless Summer. And I was trying to stay at Disney, but I mean, everything was astronomical. And we got this room. It was like a little over $200 a night. It slept 6. It had 2 bedrooms. I mean, like, I was really, really blown away by their value. I mean, it really had me thinking, like, we don't always have to stay on Disney property. Like, your money just seems to go a lot further.
Exactly why Universal built that hotel. In fact, I was sharing with your husband over on the Epic Universal podcast that I cannot reveal the name of the Universal executive who shared this with me. But they flat out told the other hotels directly around Endless Universal, look, I'm sorry, but with this moderate that we built, we are deliberately for the first 7 years going to take a loss on the hotel with the notion that people will come here, have such a wonderful time, really enjoy the facilities, and think, I have to go back there. So for 7 years, they'll keep it below what it takes them to operate just to build that nostalgia and that good feeling. And then eventually you'll see the market value of the rooms creep up. But no, I've stayed there once or twice myself on a couple of press events, and you're right. They are startlingly nice rooms for a moderate.
I mean, like, it's not even a moderate. It is like the basement floor value. And we were at Cabana Bay, which would have been a moderate for the 5 nights in the summer. And this was 1,000 times nicer.
Yeah. No.
So again, a way to possibly, save a couple bucks. 2 thumbs up for me.
No. Smart move. And again, you're not wrong about that, them being big enough to, and again, a party of 6 sleeping comfortably there. So, all right. Enough about the hotel. Let's talk about the parks. What did you, and again, you went down there to experience Christmas at Universal. So what'd you see?
And we did the thing. I mean, like the Whoville was incredible. Circus McGurkus was amazing for the food. Like, we seriously spent probably half a day in like Dr. Seuss Landing, and not to be, too repetitive with what Eric had covered, but seeing that, doing the Macy's parade, like seeing the tribute store, like, I have to say, Universal did it right for the holidays. Like, it was magical. Sorry, Disney. But it was. And I never ever, I can't even believe I'm saying this.
Well, no. That's face it. There's a competition going on right now in Orlando for hearts and minds, and Universal's playing the long game here. Now, speaking of which, what about Universal holiday merch? How did it stack up against Disney?
Okay, so if we are playing the game and there's a winner and a loser, I'm sorry, Universal does not win on this one. I mean, Disney's holiday holiday merch is far better.
Mhm.
Like, it's so different. Like, at Disney, every store that you go in, you can get whatever you want for the holidays. And at Universal, there was holiday merch, but just not nearly as much. I mean, like, they had like the Christmas at Hogwarts kind of gear and ornaments, and they had some apparel. Obviously, they had a lot of Earl the Squirrel items,
Mhm.
which, I personally was all about. But I mean, hands down,
Mhm.
like Disney wins for holiday merch.
Well, you also have to understand Disney has been in the Christmas business since '55, and Universal's stepping up its game. But you did make it into the Universal Holiday Tribute Store, right?
Yes, yes, it was so cool. And this year, like the big release, it looked like a bookstore on the
Mhm.
outside. And not to go too far into it, because I know you talked about it on the Epic Universal podcast, but there was a book launch for Earl the Squirrel, super cute.
Mhm.
They had different rooms for like different themes. So the How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Harry Potter, like I said, Earl the Squirrel, and there was all kinds of elements. As you were shopping that you could, feel, pull, touch, smell, all the things. So I thought that leveled up like the shopping experience, but it
Yeah.
was it was really really cool. And they had cupcakes, bonus for
Well,
them.
there we go. No, the Universal Tribute Store is now sort of mutated into this year-round thing. In fact, if you go back in just a couple of months, it'll be redone for the Mardi Gras, and of course, jump ahead to late summer, early fall, and that's all about Halloween Horror Nights. So it's an interesting idea that they really go full bore with. But back now to Disney. So all right, if I'm remembering from Eric, you guys went from the endless summer to the Polynesian village. Is that right?
I know it was all the tropical vibes for
There we
this
go.
December trip.
Hmm.
But it was exceptional the way that it always is. They really do, even though it is the tropical vibe.
Hmm.
They do it up for Christmas, which I really appreciate.
Okay. Okay. And I have to ask again, because Disney, particularly with the monorail hotels, I tend to go crazy for the holidays. So, what was the Poly like for Christmas?
If you were going there for the Christmas decorations, like it might not be the choice. I mean, it's always the choice for me.
Hmm.
Um, but it's the least decorated for the holidays. I mean, they had the trees and, hibiscus flowers and the Christmas lights and all that kind of stuff, but it's just not your traditional red and green. They don't have a big gingerbread house in the middle of the lobby, but
Hmm.
it still felt very, very festive. So, I mean, it checked all the boxes in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. And I want to be able to say this right. I am assuming when you're standing there, you get to hear the Kaliki mantra.
Malikilaki,
There we
yeah.
go. All right. That they got one holiday song, so they pump it. So, but of course, if you're there in the lobby, you gotta go to the boutique. Boutique. Excuse me.
It's a boutique, which
There
is
we go.
my spot. I am shopping at the boutique whether I'm staying at the Poly or not.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you are at Disney World during the holidays,
Hmm.
like I said, highly recommend.
Hmm.
And this year, I got the best find at the boutique.
Okay.
I've talked about my little neighbor Adeline before,
Hmm.
and she is currently obsessed with Duffy.
Hmm.
My daughter read her like a Shelley May story in the summer, and now
Okay.
she is all about Duffy, Shelley May. So I was really, really stoked to
Hmm.
see that they had this like limited edition line of, now I'm gonna mess it up.
Hmm.
Is it a Lumel? It's the little turtle that plays the guitar. That's Duffy's friend in the Hawaiian shirt. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, I have to warn you though, if you are starting down this road, doesn't Duffy have like 8 good, close personal friends at this
Oh
point?
yes, they're a clique if I ever.
Okay, there we
But you
go.
can't get anything. You can't get anything, Duffy. That's why I was so excited to see a Lumel.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah.
I'm
Uh
just going to interrupt here for a moment. I know we have folks who listen to the show who make it over to the Tokyo resorts.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and if somebody wants to help Lauren fill out Adeline's collection, we need to get a list of what she's got and then see if we can get some of these other 8 good, close personal friends over here.
Well, now we got the turtle.
There we go.
So
All right.
anybody else? So she got Duffy, Shelly Bay, and now we have the turtle.
Okay.
So
So
we're
3
doing
down,
the
5 to
thing.
go. Okay. So,
Yes.
all right.
So this was like a plush, and I think it was just over $30. It'll be worth every penny to see how excited that she's going to be when she opens it. I cannot wait to
That's
give it to
cool.
her.
That's cool.
Also, while we were there, I had to get my most favorite holiday treat, which are the Hawaiian shortbread cookies. And like, I 100% recommend them. They're by the Honolulu Cookie Company. I believe these come from Hawaii. So they are just an amazing holiday gift. It's one of those like one for you, one for me type of situations. But they had, sets with 24 cookies. They had 12, which I think they were only like $12.99 for 12 in like a nice decorative box. So you can't beat that for a holiday gift.
I don't know. Very. Again, I love an excuse to get shortbread. It's from
Mhm.
Hawaii. You got to get it. Okay, but at the same time, given the amount of shopping you're describing already, I picture you with arms like an orangutan dragging bags back to your room. But what else did we wind up buying?
Okay. I mean, like, I really kind of shopped till I dropped
Mhm.
at this trip. So I'll just give you some of the highlights. So over at Epcot now, we're taking the monorail from the TTC over to Epcot. They have this like collab. Disney has this collab with Scentsy. Like, they're the like exclusive
Mhm.
scent of Disney,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Okay, so over in Communicore,
Mhm.
they had that like the Spaceship Earth, gingerbread house and the countdown and everything. Well, in front of that, they had like a Scentsy booth where you could buy different things. So I got a couple different like oil diffuser things from Scentsy,
Mhm.
and they had some of the matching fragrances from their display, which was kind of like it's like a fragrance walk. They had 4 different like giant ornaments, and they each had a display in them, and like you would literally go up to the ornaments and sniff them. Did you see that?
I did not. I did not. But on the other hand, Disney's collaboration with Scentsy, didn't that's tied back to that what is it? That Elephants on Parade thing they did down in Storybook Circus at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, smell elephants on parade. So they must have to do so many activations a year. So that was like a summer thing. This is
Mhm.
a winter thing.
Okay.
So maybe that's their deal. They get 2 a year.
Okay, got it. Got it. All right. So, all right, in addition to the Scentsy stuff, anything else?
Yeah, I got some classic board games that were like Disney-fied, like the
Mhm.
Candylands. I got Miles Guess Who. That's a pretty cool gift for, Disney lovers who like a good game night like we do.
Mhm.
But the real deal of the trip that I can't wait to tell you about was the Loungefly backpacks.
Ooh, okay. Please tell me you didn't pay full price because otherwise, Lainey's not going to college, right? I mean,
Are you kidding? I just said I was bougie on a budget. Like, we try not to pay full price.
okay. Okay.
No, but they had, and I don't know if it's because we were there,
Mhm.
close to the shopping weekend, Black Friday to Cyber Monday.
Mhm.
But I mean, this was the end of our trip. So this would have then been the 9th, maybe, of December. They had lounge flies, the new lounge flies, for $50. Like,
Woof.
Yeah, I don't know that I have ever seen a deal this good on Loungeflies. Even like if you get them on eBay
Mhm,
or like Spencer's or whatever in the mall,
mhm.
like I've never seen them at $50.
Wow.
But my kids, besides Lainey, they weren't interested in Loungefly.
Mhm,
What Lainey was particularly interested in, and I have to mention it because
mhm.
it is like the viral trend thing right now for teens and adults, like the big Disney fans. And they're those little like magnetic plushies that have like they have the magnetic hands. They hook on your belt bag or your lounge fly. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm sorry. I live in the woods of New Hampshire. I do, nobody ever, the word hip and Jim Hill does not go together. So, all right, please explain. What is a magnetic plushie?
Okay, so I know you have a niece, so you never know when you're going to need the information.
This is true.
But
Hmm.
so they have the little plushies with the magnetic hands right now. I saw Mickey, Stitch, Bruni from Frozen 2, and Pooh. Oh, and the little green alien from Toy Story. And like I said, like they're putting them on their belt bags, their lounge slides, whatever. Lainey picked up Bruni. I think he was the cutest. And but I can't imagine that she won't want to get more of them every time we go. And they were fairly inexpensive. There may have been mini too. I think I might have got that for my son's girlfriend. But
Hmm.
so they're so cute. And Disney fans are all about like customization. Like, who is your spirit Disney character?
There we go. There we go. And if they don't have a Humphrey, I'm not interested.
Sorry, no Humphrey this time.
All right. But they still sound cute, and I bet they were flying off the shelf. So all right. Beyond that, what else caught your eye?
Okay, so you kind of teased at the top of the show about like Tokyo's influence on things that we're getting over here.
Mm,
So we talked about the make your own headbands like viral trend that was happening over the summer. We talked all about that in episode 12. So if you've not listened, go ahead and check that out.
hmm.
But now they are selling them in the parks. When I was down at the parks in July, they only had them at Disney Springs,
Mm.
and then I think we were at D23 in August, and they had made their way into the Disneyland parks. And now they're in the Emporium and they're in Hollywood Studios. And I'm talking about them because they had the holiday add ons. And boy, were they cute. And I was so tempted.
Ooh, okay. Cool, cool, cool.
Yes. So they're amazing. Other head related items. I finally got my Monsters Inc. hat, my Monsters University hat. And I think we did an episode on that too.
We did, and Lauren sent a lovely photo from the Magic Kingdom. In fact, you showed me your hat and how it actually. I want to say you were wearing a Spirit jersey that matched in color. So loved you with that coordinated.
I was. And on the topic of hats,
Hmm.
I mean, the jaw dropping hat from this trip was the plush hats.
Now, again, want to share before Lauren plunges into this part of the show. She sent me photos of these things, and initially I looked at them and what person on the planet would ever want to wear one of these? And then I was in New Brunswick, New Jersey this weekend, and it was 18 degrees out. You would walk out of the hotel, and it was like the cold would slap you right in the face. And at that moment, I kept repeating myself, I want one of those plush hats Lauren showed me. So, but can you please explain why I might have wanted a plush hat?
Okay. So I was a little bit floored. That's when I started texting you.
Hmm.
But they are like, I don't know, just imagine that it would be like Pooh's head on your head. They're huge
Hmm.
and they're fluffy. And kind of look like a astronaut like helmet.
Yep.
But so there's Winnie the Pooh, like I said, Tigger. I even saw a Figment, and I know that they sold them at the 100 Acre Goods at the Magic Kingdom. I don't know where Figment came from. I really don't. But you can check them out. They do have them at the Disney Store online. They are $40 for these plush hats, which
I
mind
would have
blowing.
paid that gladly in New Jersey. It was that
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
Oh.
I guess it depends on the situation. But the tie is that, shocker, these plush hats got their start in Tokyo Disneyland, much like those make your own headbands that we were just talking about. So I will be curious to see if they catch on. I mean, who knows? These hats might be the next big thing stateside. You never know.
I again happy to rock one while I'm out shoveling snow. And also worth noting that given that Tokyo Disneyland, like Paris, is one of the only Disney parks in the world where they do in fact get snow, I mean, it makes sense that the Japanese would embrace this. But yeah, I'm going to go to the store and check them out now. And that sounds like $39 well spent.
Well, listen, if any of you who are listening have got your hands on one of these hats, or, we'd like to hear your thoughts about them, reach out, let us know.
Okay. And all right. So on that note, we're going to head into the break now, folks. But when we get back, we're going to take a look at Disney's new 2025 line of dated merch. So stay tuned.
My hospital stay would have cost $25,000, but with VA healthcare, it's free.
My education would have cost $42,000, but with VA benefits, my books, tuition, and housing are all covered.
The down payment for my home would have been $74,000, but with my VA home loan, my down payment was $0. My service was then. My benefits are now. Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov.
Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.
Sephora's biggest fragrance sale of the year is on. Get 20% off full-size fragrance gifts, including designer scents like Valentino Donna Born in Roma.
How did you know?
20% off floral scents like Burberry Her.
Thank you.
And 20% off trending scents like Kayali Yum Bougie Marshmallow and Glossier You.
This is perfect.
20% off full-size fragrances now through December 24th. Shop now at Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Good. And we're back. So in the feature section of today's show, we're going to be diving into all of the exciting new things coming to the Disney parks in 2025. Now, before the break, Laura and I were talking about Disney's new plush hats, which again look very, very warm. So while you were in the park, Lauren, again, you sent me images of that, but didn't you also send me a couple of images of the 2025 stuff?
Oh, yeah, I did, Jim. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going all in on these hats. So while I was down there, I got an email, and I think it was the Disney Parks blog. And so Disney is introducing, and not until January, folks, these, I mean, like, they're very cute little, again, we're kind of talking about plushies here, and they're called Disney Mini Mix-Its, and these tiny little plush characters, they have removable plush hats that you can mix and match, like to match the big ones.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so these ones look they're very similar, but different designs.
Okay.
They're actually a little stranger, I have
Mhm.
to say, if it gets stranger. So,
Okay.
or maybe they're teasing what's to come for the adult size. Who knows? So we have a tiki bird. It's like a red parrot looking bird. We have a rocket ship hat. We have a green monster, and I don't know that I can even really tell what the fourth one is, but it's giving unicorn vibes. So, and it looks like the characters in the initial rollout for the Disney mini mix-its are Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Pooh.
Okay, so that's intriguing. So what are your thoughts here? Another trial balloon from Tokyo Disney?
I'm thinking that's what it is. They're like, hey, the headbands, smashing success. Let's
Mm-hmm.
try the plush hats. Let's try the little plushies. And you think it's kind of like they're just combining things that are already working.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wow, this worked over here. We'll take a little bit of this and like let's see what we can do. So, we talked about the magnetic hands with the plushies earlier in the show. These also have straps on the back of them, so you can do the same thing in attaching them to your bags or wherever you want, I guess. And the lady on the picture had like 4 of them, like all the way up her chest shoulder area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're encouraging you to buy more than one.
Got it. All right, but I forgive me for putting this out here, but the plushies with the magnetic hands thing, again, in order for me to go to Disney World, I have to get on a plane. And eventually that means I have to go through the TSA. Has anybody who bought one of these things, do they give you an issue if you're wearing one of these as you go through the metal detector? Does it set things off or all right.
That is a very good question, but Disney knows their audience and they're clearly catering towards them.
Okay.
You got these Disney adults, you got teen girls, and they're the ones who like love to coordinate. So the other, line of things that are coming out in 2025 are just for that demographic. So there's a pastel character series.
Okay.
This collection so far, it's just the beginning. Like I think they're just teasing it, but it had headbands and backpacks, and I mean it's these like really soft pastel shades and like fluffy. The first character looks to be Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, and I'm sure this demographic will just eat this right up. It'll fly off the shelves.
Okay. I love me some Cheshire Cat. So, all right. So it sounds like Disney has some pretty cool merch lined up for 2025. And speaking of the new items, what did you see in regard to the dated 2025 merch while you were down there?
Yeah, I mean, so this must just be the time. So put this in your calendar if you care about the dated merch. But we were down in the parks together last year, the first week of December. We went the same week this year. And at both times, that's when the new dated yearly merch was coming out for the new year. So this one, we're staying at the Poly. We're spending a lot of time on the monorail. And my son, Miles, he's like rocking not 1, not 2, but 3 lanyards just packed full of pins because that's how he rolls.
Okay.
And so he likes to go and, he wants to trade with people. But when you're trading, like little kids trading is very, very difficult because they don't want to give up anything.
Oh, yeah.
And so then, you get disappointed, whatever. And so this nice lady on the monorail, she strikes up a conversation with us and, we're kind of telling her about like how, nobody will trade with Miles unless you're the cast member. And turns out she is a huge collector. And like when I say huge, I mean huge. She pulls out this massive trading book of pins and tells Miles he can pick anything he wants.
Oh, that's good. That's incredibly generous. So, what did he pick? Did he snag something rare?
Well, I mean, I think it was rare for the moment because what he picked was the very first 2025 pin
Oh.
that I hadn't even seen in the parks yet.
Mhm.
So this one, I think she said it came from California. It was Minnie Mouse and it had like the new year, the new branding. It was really cute watching him be so excited. But like after that, then you knew my eyes were going to be peeled for, all the 2025 merch that could be trickling its way into the parks, while we were there.
Okay, and again, there are people at Disney who spend years working on this imagery. So what do we see for 2025? What's our branding, our logo here?
Okay, so I would love to get in the head of whoever was working on this all these years ago because the characters, I mean, they look like so that typically every year the dated merch has the pals, has, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, or Goofy, Pluto,
Mhm.
the whole cast and crew,
Hmm.
but they all kind of look like they're celebrating
Hmm.
this year. So you kind of get the bright colors, almost neon, like what we saw last year. Last year was or this year, 2024, it was all neon colors. These are bright colors, fireworks. There's a lot of like the castle icons, but I want to know what they're celebrating.
Okay. Okay. I mean, now this was Disney World merch, right? Because I mean, it's worth noting that isn't this year Disneyland's 70th, I want to say.
That makes sense. Okay, now that makes sense. So the dated merch is the same at
Okay.
both parks. They just swap out Disney World for Disneyland.
Got it.
You hit the nail on the head. Good job there.
Okay. Well, every
Thank you for answering my burning question. But they all look like they're like celebrating. It's very, very cool. But in this collection, something different this year is they are using like a navy backdrop, which I've not seen recently. It's a different blue than they've used because I'm a nerd and pay attention to Disney's blues. But it's totally different. Lots to cover.
Okay, well, that's what this show is all about. So, speaking of which, let's jump into the 2025 collection, Lauren. So, what did we see when it comes to apparel?
Okay, so the first thing I saw, there's a youth long sleeve shirt, $39.99, has Cinderella Castle. It would be Sleeping Beauty's castle if it was in at Disneyland. Mickey and Minnie, the big bold 25. The park name runs down the sleeve. It's in hot pink. Very, very cute. Several different t-shirts, like I was saying, fireworks, castles, all of that. And this one says like the most magical place on earth. It's pretty girly, but there is a gray unisex one, and this one has a chest emblem and then the full 25 on the back, and they're both $34.99, which seems like the new going rate for t-shirts at Disney.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And what
Oh,
about?
I forgot about one.
Okay.
The what I'm most excited about is the Passholder 25 shirt. I don't know that I've really seen much dated merch for Passholders, but this one glows in the dark.
Oh,
Which-
okay. All right. You stand out in a crowd in the dark. Okay. So what is on our glow in the dark shirt?
Well, this one has, again, we're talking bright colors, but there's like a bright blue sketch of Cinderella's castle with all the fireworks. It just kind of feels elevated and kind of cool, like nighttime in the park. And, for the first part of the year, it's going to be cold probably. So great to throw on in the evenings.
Got it. And speaking of cold, my go-to hoodie here at the house is one that I bought at Universal. In fact, I bought it in 2019 because it on the back it said Epic Universal, and I had heard that the new park was going to be called Epic Universe, and so it's an early trophy, and that sort of thing. And I love it, but it's too thin, so I'm looking for a thicker hoodie. So did they have new hoodies?
Yeah. So they did have new hoodies. Now these ones are $65. Same branding. I mean, like really everything. It's all the standard stuff. The mini ear headband was a little weird. It has like a iridescent bow that looks like that cellophane that you wrap like Easter basket in, kind of.
Okay.
They're $34.99. They had a bunch of collectible stuff already out, like 2025 Christmas ornaments were out. So there was a ton. So I encourage you. They already have some of it. I would say maybe 10 items on the Disney store, but they had the full-blown displays out at Disney World before we left.
Wow. Okay.
So more to come, I'm sure.
All right. Well, again, sounds like Disney has covered all of the bases with this collection. And as you mentioned, it's the mouse, so there's more merch to come.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, this was a jam-packed merch episode, but I think it is time we close up shop for today. So if you want to stay updated with everything happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, make sure you're following along Facebook, Instagram, X, posting all the latest updates and news from all the shows, so I promise you will not miss a thing.
Okay. And also, don't forget, if you've got any questions or suggestions for future episodes of I Want That Too, Lauren and I would, of course, love to hear from you. So you can reach out to us on social media or email us. You can get me at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and Lauren can be reached at lauren@laurenhersey.com.
Yeah, tell us about those hats. Give us your thoughts.
There we go.
But anyways, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.